Hello, and it's so good to have you back here on Control Alt Defense. This is episode 34. It's good to see you. We're back after a couple of weeks once again. Our apologies. There was work where Vishnu and I have been traveling, but we promise once again that we will be more regular. I want to start with some fantastic news. And Vishnu should be congratulated by all of us because it's something we've been hinting at for the last many episodes, and it's finally...
I, in fact, denied it, which was a lie.
So Vishnu's new book called The Sky Warriors, which reveals never before details about the air war during Operation Sindoor, is going to be out very soon. Vishnu, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Pre-orders are out.
Pre-orders
put
are
into
out.
The link. Please order it. You must order it. Because before you watch the next episode of this podcast, I want all of you guys to go and read the book first. Pre-order it, you'll get it later. And then we're going to be listening to what... Tell us something that's in the book, Vishnu. Give us a sneak preview.
Fighter pilots, in their own voices,
Yeah.
in the book, of course, as quotes telling us about their mission on the 7th of May last year, heading deep within Indian airspace, coming to their launch positions before they're open with BrahMos, Scalp or Rampage or the other weapons which they may have used, the threats that they were seeing from the other side, and their concerns at potentially being painted by Pakistani radar, right? First-person accounts of extraordinary detail, all of that in that book. Not just fighter pilots.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more, but we'll keep giving away a little every time.
We'll drop little Easter eggs through this episode, but I can't wait for the book. You know, I think among the first to pre-order it. Vishnu was in Greenland when the pre-order link actually dropped, and
where I saw a Danish frigate in case America invaded.
no, this is an extremely special time for anyone.
It's true, I filmed it.
This is Vishnu's first book, by the way. I've known Vishnu for like 2 decades, and I've told him multiple times over the years, how is it that someone like you hasn't written a book? So I'm very happy that he's finally written his first, hopefully first of many books. But the Sky Warriors, link in the description and the notes. Please go and get yourself a copy. I can't wait to read it. Vishnu, but today's episode is on something else entirely. I mean, not quite unrelated, but it's been a week where Hindustan Aeronautics Limited has been unusually in the headlines. It's hit the front page in newspapers where, two of our friends work, Manu Pabi and Rahul Singh. They've been reporting on this, and it has triggered something that we've never seen before, because Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is a state-owned company that usually doesn't put out details of programs, and it doesn't issue clarifications of news reports. It's too big for that. But this week we've seen 2 pieces of news that have come out that have thrust them completely into the spotlight. One was a big, in my view, a kind of blockbuster story about how HAL has been ejected from the race to develop and build India's 5th generation AMCA fighter. Unbelievable. Almost inconceivable to think of a combat aircraft program, the first in the country where HAL will not play a primary role. It's going to be all private sector along with some government-owned laboratories. And the other slightly smaller story is about the continuing delays in the saga of the LCA Tejas Mk-1A, which we'll come to. We're going to go through both of these one by one, but I think it's safe to say that it hasn't been a great year for HAL. It's a great company. Vishnu and I have both had a long-standing relationship with this company. They do many things right. They do many things wrong, and we will not hesitate to call those things out, no matter what anyone says on social media, because ultimately it's about the customer, as we always say, and capability. But Vishnu, your thoughts first on the AMCA announcement. Shocking. Somewhere in people's minds, perhaps it was maybe expected, because the government has indicated it wants to provide greater space for the private sector, but HAL not in the race.
I think, Shiv, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is in a state of disbelief. They would perhaps never have imagined something like this at all. And to think that India's first stealth fighter is going to be built by companies which have not built any fighter of their own, is the argument that supporters of HAL will actually make. What I found interesting is that there was a clarification to those articles from Rahul and Manupabi, where Hindustan Aeronautics said that, look, we haven't been told on the record that we've been ejected from this process. Now, that struck me as being rather strange because, you're part of the government. Pick up the phone and ask another part of the government whether or not this is true. And where is the formal versus informal? I mean, if you've been told that, sorry, you haven't made it this time,
Yeah.
are you still so strongly in a sense of disbelief that you're actually waiting for the official paper to come and say, oh, by the way, here's the paper which says what we told you on the phone? I don't see this necessarily as a financial setback for Hindustan Aeronautics. There are very few aviation companies in the world, military aviation companies, with an order book as large as Hindustan Aeronautics. They have got it. They have got work with the Tejas Mk-1A and Tejas Mk-2. Several hundred of these fighters have to be built and inducted. They've got helicopters going on. They've now gotten into the Sukhoi Superjet, which is a civilian airliner, which may be manufactured over here in India. There is an incredible amount of work that they're actually doing. But think about it, Shiv. One of the following companies is going to build the AMCA, right? We also need to figure out a name for the AMCA. It's such a boring name, AMCA.
Yeah.
Atal Bihari Vajpayee named the Tejas, right? Which means radiance. So Tata Advanced Systems Limited, they're bidding on their own. They've been shortlisted. Larsen and Toubro, along with Bharat Electronics and Dynamatic Technologies, that's a consortium. They've also bid and been shortlisted. Bharat Forge, that's a tripartite consortium with BEML Limited and Data Patterns, right? So basically what the government, and this is one of the most progressive processes that we've seen. I think it's fantastic. They've said that, look, all of you in the private sector have said, give us a chance. We're giving you one heck of a chance. We are keeping aside 15,000 crores. We will shortlist 3 companies. And then out of that, depending on your proposals, we will shortlist one. 15,000 crores is our outlay to help you build that prototype. You have to prove to us the ability of building that prototype. And then, of course, once it's done and we say that the plane is acceptable to us, you have to build a final assembly line and an assembly line, not just a final assembly line. And you have to manufacture that aircraft to the standards that we want. The task is gigantic. It is incredibly difficult. And there are lots of questions that we can raise. But the fact of the matter is, if our private defense companies want to play in the big leagues, then you play in the big leagues or you don't get into it. It is now time for them to deliver at the highest standards of aviation.
I just want to, before we get into the complexities of the AMCA itself, we've done at least a couple of episodes on what it's going to take to build the AMCA. I want to draw your focus back for a moment, Vishnu, to HAL itself, to HAL itself, because I want to sort of explore the implications of them being left out of this project. It's a setback for sure. Even if you, like you rightly mentioned, they've got this enormous order book. There are many who advocate that HAL shouldn't see this as a setback because you've got so many orders to fulfill. They're going to keep you busy for the next decade or more. So, you shouldn't be taking on more work, which will only dilute your focus. Deliver what you've already got in hand. But, like with any combat aviation manufacturing project in the country, HAL believes that it has the right to be a part of it, if not lead it. So not being part of it at all is virtually unthinkable for them.
No, it's completely unthinkable. But remember ADA, which is the Aeronautical Development Agency, which has been central absolutely in the development of the Tejas, will be working with one of these 3 conglomerates or groups or whatever, one of which will manufacture the jet. So, the government ecosystem has to handhold share design, share expertise, share technology, share skilled engineers to actually do this.
But ADA is not a company. It's a bunch of labs.
It's a bunch of labs. It's part of the government. So it's not HAL by any means, but it's part of the aviation ecosystem of India, government run. I think what HAL would need to worry about, and can I just stick my neck out on a limb and say, is the loss of skilled women engineers, men engineers, of engineers, and because who do incredible work on platforms like the Tejas. If a private sector company gives them or offers them a large increment or a large package, if HAL's government salary structures don't make the cut anymore, then why wouldn't that skilled, engineering quality or the people coming in, why wouldn't they shift
Yeah.
to one of these three
And
consortia
want to work on a stealth fighter.
and work on a stealth fighter with all of the skills that they've picked up? I would even venture that they might be foreign experts brought in as well. There have been Indian programs, really important ones, deep diving ones, where foreign expertise has been
Just
brought
say
in.
it. You want to say it. We've said it before. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're talking about.
The nuclear
What are we talking
submarines.
about? Oh, really? Okay. So, that can come in as well at a certain stage. So HAL needs to get its act together. They need to realize that they are now competing with the private sector.
Yeah.
This cannot be a Doordarshan versus NDTV competition where, once Doordarshan was the boss, but then private, channels and networks came together.
It's a good
And
analogy,
quite
yeah.
frankly, there are metrics in which the national broadcaster doesn't compete.
Yeah.
Similarly, over here, Hindustan Aeronautics has to come to the table and start delivering. And I think their task is cut out, start delivering on Tejas Mk-1A and Tejas Mk-2, because there's another report, and we should get into that, and we will, of course, on this episode, that the Air Force wants to review where the Tejas Mk-1A stands, right? So it's not enough for them to have this incredible order book.
Yeah.
They have to now ensure that they can actually deliver. So even to this, there was a clarification,
Yeah.
right?
I'm coming to that in a moment. I just want
So 2 points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That, in fact, we're going to spend even longer on that.
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's a
Yeah.
that's a slightly more touchy topic with the Air Force. But just to close the loop on the AMCA bit, because it's I imagine that at this point of time, HAL, which has issued this perplexing statement saying, हमको किसी ने बताया नहीं, basically, to that effect. Various media reports regarding the AMCA program have come to HAL's attention. HAL has not received any official communication in this regard and therefore is not in a position to comment on these reports at this stage, which is very, very strange. I wish they hadn't put out a comment of this kind. They could have briefed journalists maybe, but this not only confirms that the news is true, to us cynical journalists, but also sort of sends out the message that they're clueless about what's happening in the government, which is a terrible sort of
It's
vibe.
like one of us walking into office and seeing that our office is occupied by somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, what happened there?
Yeah, we live in a new world, Vishnu. That may actually happen, but on
And he's
the
the boss, huh? If you read into that,
I meant AI, but anyway. But I think on a very serious note, HAL is very likely to have seen these news reports
Yeah, they
about
did.
being rejected. It's possible that they didn't have a formal word yet. We know how the MOD works, and I can tell you that as defense correspondents, oftentimes you will see senior bureaucrats leak these pieces of information. They come out in the press like they have in Economic Times and Hindustan Times, and then the reaction of the company is gauged, and then they figure out how to calibrate putting out that message formally. It has happened many, many times before. But for HAL, this one definitely hurts. Also, Vishnu, and I wanted to add a small bit of information. In 2020, I'd broken a story on Live Fist about how the AMCA was being spearheaded by HAL, which had moved a proposal for it to be a tripartite consortium
yes,
between HAL,
Yep.
the DRDO under ADA, and a private sector company like L&T or the Tatas. And it was going to be a special purpose vehicle / joint venture. Interestingly, at that time, Vishnu, the companies that had been invited to express their interest in this triangle setup to build the AMCA said, we're not going to do this if HAL is leading because
We can't work
we
with
don't
them.
have faith in the work share opportunities in this kind
And
of an
it's not the
arrangement.
first time that a company has said they don't want to work with HAL. For
Yeah.
example, Dassault, in the case of Rafale, when during the Manmohan Singh government's time, they were trying to push for the MMRCA deal, said that, we understand what the process is, but we are not certifying the work done on the Rafale aircraft in India if it's manufactured by HAL. We can't do that.
Yeah, but
They
can
said
you
we don't-
explain
we
this a
cannot.
little bit?
Yeah.
Because industry insiders say that these companies are like, if you want us to get into it, we want to get into it in a very big way. But if HAL is there, there will be very little space for us to do anything.
Yeah.
That was the sense of all
No,
of this.
absolutely right. And I think the government has recognized that. And the government has now given them, as I mentioned earlier, an opportunity which is huge. If they fail to perform, then they perish in this sphere. HAL comes charging back in and and takes back the space which they have potentially ceded on this particular occasion. But the point I was making is that others have not wanted to work with HAL in the past. Dassault, in certain cases, as I mentioned, said, no, we can't. The Rafale's radar, the RB2 radar, if components of that were to be built, I do know that that specialists from Thales had actually gone down and had visited HAL's facilities, and they said that, the radars and the equipment and the standards and the vacuum tubes which you were actually dealing with when this entire process started. And here's a Rafale RB2 radar, the Rafale's RB2 radar, right? An ASA radar, absolutely state of the art, the best that France has managed in terms of an airborne intercept radar. You can't build that over here, dude. I mean, you don't have that skill set right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so certifying this is going to be a problem. I mean, the French, who are willing to push a defense deal to any extent, actually put their feet down. And they said, no, we cannot certify. You structure it, but we cannot certify what you're building over here. That's huge, right? So therefore, now our private players in this particular case, they don't want, somebody, a big brother, to come in and they know the stakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they win, the company that wins this contract, presumably after successfully making a prototype, which is going to be a monster task, is going to be putting its own money down in building factories. Given the numbers, 200 plus, I presume, of AMCAs, if they get it wrong, they will sustain massive losses.
Yeah.
Right? It will huge losses reputationally, financially, and all of that. So they have no option. And Shiv, just briefly, why is the AMCA so difficult? Shiro Barks, it's one of the one of the X handles I follow very closely, and sort of gone into a lot of detail on this. All of this is my also information that we've reported on. There are 100 design centers which were involved in AMCA, right? The AMCA has to be the AMCA's, and this is my information, the AMCA's bay, conformal bay, has to be, not conformal, its internal bay to carry weapons has to be large enough now to cater to, what we test fired day before yesterday. The solid fuel ducted ramjet, which is a futuristic air-to-air missile. It's an Indian Meteor or an Indian Meteor Plus. The thing is, it's not a small missile, and you have to carry at least 4 of them. Right? And therefore, you need to cater to that. Now, that's technology coming online. Is the AMCA design, has it, in fact, I do know when we reported about AMCA from the ADA headquarters, the design had not been finalized. So we need to ensure that this piece of technology is actually fitted in. So all of these private companies need to look at something like that. There's been a lot of CAD-CAM work which has been done over here. The entire stealth technology is based on designs, and nobody's coming to the table and giving you these designs based on the deflection of radars, right? Radar absorbent material, serpentine intakes to ensure that the spinning engines blades are not visible to radar and hence don't sort of produce a massive radar return. And then look at the technology that you're looking at. Canted vertical tails, carefully aligned edges, right? Leading edges, the maximum ability to move away radar waves, and also AI enabled, right? With an Indian ASA radar, with no tubes pointing out of the airframe, or no pitos, or no sensors. It has to be flush, like the F-35.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's just a small summary of it.
Yeah.
And there are core technologies over here which India has to build.
Correct. No, but so isn't it a huge risk then?
It's a risk
to head into the AMCA project without HAL. I mean, no matter what anyone says about HAL, they are the most experienced airframer in the country.
It's a fair argument.
So doesn't the government want to, sort of bake in some amount of security in terms
This
of
is
a
an
project like this? We can't go wrong.
it's an incredibly progressive and risky decision by the government. I salute them for having taken this decision.
It's a brave decision.
It's
no
a
doubt.
very brave decision. It can either work or go disastrously wrong. There is a lot of hand holding. That 15,000 crores financial for the first prototype, they've done that. ADA is a key part of this entire process. But these companies have to come onto the table. Some of them are quite experienced in aerostructures, for example. The Tatas with Boeing and Lockheed Martin, they've got they've got work which is happening on that front. But all of these technologies has to be integrated. The cockpit itself is going to be very different. It's going to be a single large multifunction display. The Tejas, as we know, has a control stick which is in the center. They're moving the control stick to the side. India has never done that before. There are new technologies that need to be mastered. One of the reasons why you have a side stick controller as opposed to a central one is because it liberates a lot of space in front of the pilot.
Right.
It enables safer ejections to take place. And if there is more instrument, if there are more, the size of the MFD itself can be made larger. It's a cleaner cockpit configuration. We have to develop that.
The side stick,
So, man, is it a task? And so, given all of this, anybody who says, AMCA, when is it going to fly? When is it going to enter service? It is going to be sometime in the 2030s. Then it's going to be in a form, hopefully, which is acceptable. So, the first prototype that comes along and flies, right?
By the end of this
and we haven't even gotten into the AMCA's engines.
Yeah.
It will be to begin with the F414 engine, which powers the Tejas, except the Tejas Mk-2 is a single engine plane. The AMCA has got two engines. But if we are getting into a deal with Safran for an even more powerful engine that develops more thrust to enable better, super cruise performance, presumably pushing this platform up to Mach 2, which is significantly faster than, let's say, an F-35, then you really do need to have that engine technology come along as well.
Yeah.
And engines, as you know, Shiv, are not plug and play.
Correct.
So imagine the engineering feat which is required, or which is futuristic enough to keep a potential change in engines in the future.
Yeah, and that partnership between India's DRDO and Safran France is we're hearing, and you've reported on it as well, Vishnu, that it's going to happen sometime this year. It's going to go up to the Cabinet Committee on Security, and if that happens, like you rightly said, that'll be the first engine
That'll be an AMCA Mark II. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the same.
That's going to take a long time. The lead time for that is going to be a decade plus for sure, conservatively speaking. Okay, so we've spoken about the AMCA, and I think it was important that we talked about the risks of not having HAL in it, but that we both agree that it's a progressive decision, risky for sure. But I think a great deal of thought has gone into why this is happening.
Yeah.
We've got to be a little brutal as far as HAL is concerned. The company has become a company that has wanted its finger in every aviation pie.
Yeah.
When the C295 deal was being negotiated, HAL tried to get a word in there as well and say, no, we will build you new generation Avros, or we'll upgrade your Avros, and all kinds of really ridiculous, nonsensical things. Trying to play the Sarkari card and get their way in on what ultimately was about a Make in India project, which may have its problems. And believe me, I am not even for a moment suggesting that these, assembly or as some people
imagine an
rudely call
upgraded
screwdriver giri, is a solution to any of India's, Make in India aspirations. But yeah, you were saying something?
Imagine an upgraded Avro.
And it was true. We reported it. Their proposal was, stop this C295 nonsense. We will upgrade the Avros, or we will build new ones.
The cockpit of the Avro, the old ones which continue to fly, when you enter the aircraft, you turn left to go to the cockpit, right? Normally there's a door which you open. I've been on Avros where there are these bar doors, type doors. So they open like that.
Like that.
And you walk in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've been in those. Yeah, great. It's a beautiful aircraft by itself.
It's a lovely
They had
aircraft.
to go away. But so the
It
C295
flies really slowly.
Yeah,
though.
so the guys assembling and building the C295s now in Vadodara, the Tatas, they're one of the companies that is, has been shortlisted for the AMCA strategic partnership. So we'll have to see where that goes. I'm told that a decision on the winner, the quote unquote winner,
In a couple of
consortium,
months.
should be in a couple of months, maybe this financial year.
Yeah, so they've been asked to give bids, financial bids. They've been asked to, beyond what they've already submitted, there'd be a million clarifications which they need to answer about
Yeah.
whether they can do it, how they're going to, who they're going to employ, where they're going to do it, integrating it, this, that, and the other, the financial state of the company, and then they'll take a decision on this.
Let's talk about the second piece of news that HAL clarified about, and that was something that you referred to earlier, Vishnu, which is the LCA Tejas Mk-1A aircraft. Now, just very, very rapid background. About 180, in fact, exactly 180 of these aircraft have been officially ordered as part of two separate contracts by the Indian Air Force. These aircraft were supposed to have begun delivery sometime last year or the year before
last
that.
year, 2025,
Yeah.
which was again a revised date.
So, 2025, they missed that deadline. Now they're over a year late, and we understand they're going to be even later than planned. The latest deadline is also going to be missed. They were supposed to be here by March, the first 5 aircraft. They won't be here before May.
Yeah.
And I'm presuming that May means at least a further delay beyond that.
Yeah.
This is a painful, annoying saga, the Tejas Mk-1A. Every part of it, where it began, where we are now. HAL is not entirely to blame, even though the Air Force is quite upset with HAL and believes that, their sort of deadbeat attitude, as it were, played a part in it. It wasn't just about the engines. But how do you see it, Vishnu? They've put out a statement saying, no, we're ready to fly.
Look, it's very clear that the Air Force and is absolutely clear. They don't want test bed aircraft type Tejas Mk-1As. They want the rail deal. It has to be fully integrated with an ASA radar, with the Astra missile, with the electronic warfare systems working absolutely fine. They don't want fighter aircrafts with the promise that वो बाकी जो सब है वो हम fix कर लेंगे, लगा देंगे. It's like
retrofit once
if
it
you
comes.
and I to buy a car, we tend to buy it with the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day on Contessas and all, we used to install the air conditioners afterwards, or ambassadors, like underneath,
Yeah.
They don't want that
Air
in
Force
20.
doesn't want Contessas.
They don't want that. Contessa. They don't want that in 20. They don't want that in
We're gonna be
2020.
in so much trouble, man.
Anyway, so they want a fully integrated glitch-free ASA radar that's being developed, a certified electronic warfare suite, final software and weapons clearances, and then they say, okay, fine, we'll take the aircraft. Now, what Hindustan Aeronautics in their clarification has said is that, look, we've got 5 aircraft. In fact, we've got 9 more, but the problem is the engine. Now, that's not our mistake, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
General Electric has been very, very shoddy in terms of engine development for all sorts of reasons, but they have started delivering the engines. The aircraft, the other 9, are absolutely built up, and therefore, as soon as the engine arrives, you can take the plane. And so what their statement says is that various in fact, and it's worth looking at this. A clarification regarding LCA Mk-1A deliveries. HAL wishes to clarify the status. HAL confirms that 5 aircraft are fully ready for delivery, incorporating major contracted capabilities in accordance with the agreed specifications. Important statement, because the initial news item was that in May this year, the Air Force is going to sit down and going to decide that, boss, have you delivered or have you not? Am I taking the plane or am I just going to wait out on it, right? HAL then says, an additional 9 aircraft have already been built and flown. Upon receipt of engines from General Electric, these aircraft will be made ready for delivery. All design and development issues identified are being addressed in an expedited manner. That's great. They are being addressed, but have they been completed in terms of the changes?
That's the point.
HAL is in active discussions with the IAF to deliver the aircraft. The supply position of the engines is positive, etc., etc.
This doesn't sound good to me.
The Indian Air Force is very clear. I need capability, right? And again, just for the benefit of our viewers, Shiv and I are not slamming the Tejas aircraft. We love the Tejas aircraft. We have flown on the Tejas aircraft. But the 2026 Tejas has to come with capabilities. If it doesn't come with the capabilities that the IAF wants, then the IAF doesn't want the aircraft.
Yeah.
And they are not in a position to say that we don't want it, we want something else. We are too far down the road on that. But the basic indigenous technologies have to develop. In fact, the first batch of Tejas Mk-1As come with a brilliant Israeli radar called the ELTA 2052. Even that has to be fully integrated in a way in which it works. The Astra has to be integrated. Future variants of the Astra have to be integrated. Ultimately, you want the ability to carry, let's say, 4 Astra missiles and 2 short-range air-to-air missiles or medium-range air-to-air missiles for which, adapter pods on the pylons have to be made, operationalized, etc., all of it. Not an easy job.
Yeah. Is the Air Force right? And might I say it's the first anniversary of that Aero India meltdown by the Air Chief?
Sorry, I
Where-
didn't hear that right.
Vishnu can never hear anything when I mention the Air Chief. No, I'm going to say it loud because that was the big headline of last year. The upbraiding of HAL by the Air Force Chief at the Aero India show in February last year, a year ago exactly, where he said, what the hell is going on? Basically, I was supposed to have these aircraft. You've done nothing. You're pretending at this air show like everything's hunky dory.
Where's the capability?
But where the hell is the capability?
Yeah.
And now 1 year later, not only is that capability not in hand, but the latest deadline is also being missed. So the Air Force is justified in being annoyed and losing a little faith in HAL. And this is a relationship that has had frictions. The normal customer, buyer, supplier relationship, nothing unusual about it. But in this particular instance, you have an air chief who's been a very powerful advocate of the Tejas and indigenous platforms.
Yeah, he headed the National Flight Test Center.
Right? He loves the Tejas. So he can, his intentions and motivations cannot for a moment be questioned. He loves the Tejas and believes that that's going to be the backbone of the Air Force. But he's right when he says, you can't blame this all on the engine delay.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. And 1 year later, that appears to still be true, Vishnu.
And HAL has to just deliver now. It's as simple as that. HAL has to confront a reality that there are private players who are completely available now in this country.
Yeah.
And if they don't get their act right, then it's going to be a problem for them. So, look, I'm not sure if it's correct to say perform or perish for HAL.
They're too big.
I thought this would be a nice name for this episode. And maybe at a larger, it may not be an existential threat. HAL is too big to shut down the government or a big part of the government in the aviation sector. But if you fail to deliver in a very compressed, in a difficult technology sort of environment, then you are not going to retain your primacy.
Yeah.
And primacy, which is why it is perform and perish for HAL.
No, and the corrosion of that monopoly, that erosion of that monopoly is, it's understandable, Vishnu, looking at it from HAL's perspective, that it's a shrinking of their space and the domination that they enjoyed for so long. But if you zoom out a little bit, it's a good thing for the country and for the aviation ecosystem to have more players, diversify your sources, bring up the private sector, which has been something that multiple governments have tried to do so far, let's face it, unsuccessfully. This is the first time we're actually seeing some big projects go to the private sector. But I think you're right when you say there's a lot of risk involved, and we will only know how well it's playing out over the next few years. I just want to point out a couple of positive things about this week as far as HAL is concerned. First of all, the fact that they've put out 2 statements, even if they are in response, Vishnu, to news reports. I want to commend HAL. I want to commend the leadership, the corporate communications team, and them for doing what should become a norm. I believe transparency. These are sensitive items, so obviously you can't be completely out in the open about projects and timelines. There are lots of operational sensitivities here, but putting out information of this kind is extremely welcome. And I say this as a journalist who has not been used to this for so many years. Vishnu.
They would just not respond. We
they
have
would just
nothing
let
to say.
reports go.
They won't know how to respond
Yeah.
or who to respond to. No, this is great. Transparency is important. We remain supporters of the Hindustan Aeronautics cause.
Yeah.
Without HAL, our armed forces would be in a bad situation. We haven't even gotten into helicopters. And so much technology and engineering talent resides with them. But the game around us has been upped. India's game has to be upped, and it has to be said a couple of things. HAL must deliver on schedule. Number two, the Indian Air Force cannot change goalposts either, which they have done frequently, right, with the Tejas aircraft. So when HAL says that you keep changing the goalposts, adding capabilities, and you think this is plug and play,
Yeah.
it's not. They're absolutely right about that. And so it's a difficult situation. So we have to just deliver now.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful to see, because unless we test it and we know, we will never know if our private players can come onto the table.
Yeah,
And think
yeah.
about it. What an opportunity. As a company, I'm going to build India's first stealth fighter.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Huge opportunity.
I can imagine. I think the point
Imagine
you
their
mentioned earlier
credibility.
is a real story.
Imagine what will happen to these companies if they do it successfully.
Yeah.
It's accepted, if Turkey can build their stealth fighters, right? And if Korea can build, sort of their stealth fighters, why can't we build this? And this is actually, design-wise, way more sophisticated than what the Turkish or the Koreans have. This is actually capable, in terms of the aerostructure itself, very much in the class of the F-35.
Yeah.
No one will really know how good the EW is, the avionics are, compared to the Americans, which have the global standard on that.
Yeah, I think the way this unfolds, it's very exciting. You're right. I completely agree with all these private companies doing many of these things for the first time means that there is a greater degree of agility to adapt towards what is going to be a very different aircraft in 10 years.
Yeah.
The way we picture the AMCA now, I certainly hope that's not what it's going to be 10 years from now, because the world has changed dramatically in the last 1 week.
Yeah.
Right, with AI. So what's it going to be in 10 years? But one more positive from from the last few days, since we're talking about HAL, and this episode is Perform or Perish, is that the Dhruv helicopters are back in the air. The Navy and the Coast Guard
Oh, those are also back?
helicopters are back in the
Oh,
air
that's
because of a replacement of a faulty part.
Yeah.
That's what Rahul Singh has been reporting in
Fantastic.
the Hindustan Times, which is terrific news, because the Dhruv was also a sort of pain point between the customers and HAL. They believed that they had lost faith in HAL because HAL was being stubborn about admitting to certain design and other issues. And it appears that, since the sensation in the media kind of died down, they've gone to work and gotten it sorted. So that's a good thing, because of the number of helicopters there are, Vishnu.
Those are very advanced helicopters. For the naval role, multi-role helicopters, reconnaissance helicopters, both for the Coast Guard and the Navy, more advanced in many ways than the Air Force and Army variants, some of the Army variants. So we need to have those back on. They've been grounded for a long period of time. Each and every helicopter which was grounded for the Navy and the Coast Guard had to be checked. Components, I think, had to be replaced in most cases. And then they had to be test flown. And then they had to be delivered. And then they had to be operationalized. So all this takes time. So if those helicopters are back up, then that's absolutely fantastic news.
Yes, it's good news. Inside HAL, I know for a fact that there will be, crisis teams looking to reach out to the MOD and say, what the hell? This being India and this being the MOD that we cover, Vishnu, there's every possibility that between now and the end of the year, HAL's been able to elbow itself back into
AMCA.
the race.
Yeah, I was thinking
on
of the
AMCA.
same thing.
Don't rule it out. It may not happen. It's unlikely, but I'm saying there's a possibility that they'll have some kind of role, not ejected entirely from the whole thing. HAL will still have some kind of a part to play in what we're about to see. So never rule anyone out, from this amazing roller coaster that is Indian defense projects. But I think a message going out to HAL that they've got to pull up their socks.
Yeah.
They've got to compete.
Yeah.
The old days of monopoly are over.
Yeah.
Monopoly, I think, served a purpose because it brought HAL up, like you rightly said, to being an incredible company. They did incredible work, but there are many, many, many lessons that they must learn, and they've got to adapt, and they've got to adapt really, really fast.
Sure.
And just to end, Vishnu, they've got some advanced projects on their hands as well. They've got
Absolutely.
the manned unmanned
Unmanned teaming,
systems, the
drones,
CATS program. They've got
which
a
is
bunch
super.
of drones that they're building. I
And
know
those
that,
will work with the AMCA in the
yeah,
future.
and they will work with the AMCA in the future. They've got a lot of AI based software projects that I
Yeah.
understand that they're working on as well. So this is not. I don't want anyone to think of this as some the old lumbering beast that has failed to adapt versus the new kids in town. It's not that. There are going to be synergies moving forward, and we always wish HAL very, very well. So Vishnu, any last words? Does your book have anything to do with HAL?
Not quite, but it. Let's see now. Well,
You
I
can't
mean,
write a book about air power that doesn't in some way or the other bring HAL in.
not HAL, but we certainly have. I
Some of the
certainly
things
have
they've
a
built.
lot of stuff built by the indigenous ecosystem, including incredible accounts. Incredible accounts. Nobody knows about them on the performance of the Akash missile.
Yeah.
And the men and women helming those way out near the line of control, and their stories, right? So that's in there.
Order the book. The pre-order link is in the notes, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.
Goodbye.